Perek Sheni, Perek Aleph of the session is Derech Hashem. Most of you probably recall the four banim, arba'a banim in the Agadah Shel Pesach. A tzaddik, a rasha, a tam, a sheno yodeh lish'ol. Tzaddik is the wise one, rasha is the wicked one, tam is the simple one. There's a fourth one, sheno yodeh lish'ol. People think that the most dangerous one is the rasha, he's a wicked man. The most dangerous one in reality is the she'eno yodeh lish'ol, the one that does not know how to. A lot of people live this life of 70, 80 years or so, not asking questions, not knowing how to ask questions. And as a result of not asking questions, you don't get answers. And by not having answers, they don't know what they're living for, why they're working so hard for. It's important to ask, it's important to find out, to investigate as much as possible. Last week we began with emunah. The very first step, no doubt, is that one should ingrain in his mind that there is a creator, there's somebody responsible for what we are witnessing, for what we are experiencing and living through. And once we understand that idea, the logical next step is that it must be that he doesn't create it just for fun. Stam. He was playing around and he made a world. When you make something and you invest a lot of time and effort, especially if it's a lot of details are involved and it's complex, it must be for a purpose. It must be tahliti. So in the end, if one analyzes it with an open mind, analyzes the creation, and he already admits and agrees, we're beyond that step. Sheyesh borei la'olam, he has that emunah, that simple first step of belief in God. He must understand or attempt to understand, why did God create the world? Now in the past, if you were to ask this question to an average Jew, make believe 500 years ago, during the time of the Inquisition in Spain, tell me, why did God create the world? He would not be able to give you a clear answer. It's not really written clearly anywhere in the Gemara. This is part of the Chokhmat HaElokut. Books as Derech Hashem, the Zohar, and the like, the Kabbalah, elaborate a little bit more on what is the tachlit of the Bria, what is the purpose of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made this world. We're not interested right now to know what the purpose of fulfillment of mitzvot, of the Torah. We're not even holding there. Right now we want to know, okay, God created the world. What for? What does He need us for? What does He get out of it? What we get out of it, and then, hopefully we know by now. We observe the mitzvot, we know that there's something to it. It's only called Olam Haba. But we want to go a little bit deeper. What does Hashem have from this? What did He create the world? What's on His mind? So that's an important question to ask. Rabbis tell us that without the Torah, had the Jewish people not received the Torah, we would have been able to learn a lot of things from the Bria. By analyzing, by observation. We would learn things from a cat. What would you learn from a cat? Modesty. It is very rare that you ever catch two cats together. You know what I mean? Okay? It's a rare thing. They hide it. Not only that, it's very rare that you see a cat urinating or doing whatever it's doing. A dog doesn't care where it is. On your carpet, in the street, in front of a tree. No tree doesn't make a difference. You see the difference in nature? We would learn modesty from a cat. We would learn diligence from the ants. Look how hard they work. I take away the garbage can from them, they're still working. I don't know why, but I still find them running somewhere. They're working all the time. You would learn devotion. From who? From the doves, from the pigeons. Right? Faithfulness, right? Exactly. More correctly, faithfulness. That's true. Right? There was a lot of things that we would learn from creation, from the Bria, from different creatures, had we not had the Torah. Obviously, the Torah teaches us all these things. What the rabbis meant to tell us with this is that the human being is endowed with the neshama, with the soul, and as a result of that, with the koach, to be able to observe and to be able to analyze and learn on his own without even being told, without even being given instructions. The Torah is, of course, a set of instructions on how to lead our lives. We need that set of instructions. We can't do it all on our own, but a lot of things we'll be able to tell on our own. We'll be able to, just like I gave the example of Avraham Avinu. He went out without having any support. On the contrary, it was not in style to do and to believe what he did and believe. He went out against the whole world. So it was very risky. In Baalei Teshuvah, those who do Teshuvah go through the same challenges, the same difficulties. They're not even trying to convince their families, they're just trying to defend themselves. And they don't have the answers. When they're starting out, they don't have the answers or the explanations to fend off all these challenges from their parents and from their good friends. On the contrary, they go through very difficult times of bushot, of being ashamed of what they look like right now. And this is what Avraham Avinu experienced, and he even risked his life for this belief, but he was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, You mean to say, you might ask me, that Avraham Avinu was so intelligent, he had an IQ of 250? Why was he the only one in his generation to come to that conclusion? What would you say? It's actually very relevant right now because we're reading Parashat Noach this week, right? Parashat Noach, we have Noach ish tzaddik, bedorotav. Everybody else doesn't believe. You have Avraham Avinu, you have individuals. What's going on over here? Even though that's a totally different chapter, you should know it does not mean people are blind. People are blinded by ta'avot, by interest. That's what the word bias means. When you're biased, when you have an agenda, you don't see the truth. When the rabbis tell us in the Gemara, right, Derech Derech, truth will be lacking. So the question is, if truth is lacking, how will I ever be able to find it out? If I want to know the truth, only by learning the Torah. If you learn the Torah, you're able to discover it. You have to be willing to learn Torah. Otherwise, what would be the problem? Why would truth be lacking? Because everybody will claim that he has the truth. There will be a lot of parties, a lot of cults, a lot of religions, loads of all sorts, whatever you want to. Even amongst the Christians, you have Episcopalian, you have Southern Baptist, and I don't want to name the rest of them. But you know what I mean. All these little changes. Who has the truth? Everybody claims that they know it. It would be a dor sha'imet nederet. If one does not learn Torah, one does not know, who to join. Some people join one party the first day, the second day they join someone else. They're always changing their mind. Avraham Avinu set an example as a young child by doing the following. He asked questions. He wasn't afraid to ask. The first problem he ran into is not getting answers. For two reasons. He did not get answers because either the people who he asked were ignorant and could not provide the answers, or number two, did not want to give the answers. Why didn't they want to do the answers? Why shouldn't somebody want to tell you the truth? The same happened to Menashe. Menashe was a very important king, an intelligent king amongst the Jewish people, but he was Oved Avodah Zarah. There was once a class given by a big rabbi during the time of the Gemara, and the rabbi started making fun. Avodah Zarah, look at these kings, they were crazy. What were they doing following Avodah Zarah? Didn't they know Shakadosh Baruch Hu Bara et Ha'olam, and he took us out of Egypt? What was going on in their mind? He made fun of this Menashe. That night, Menashe appeared to him in a dream. Now, this was an important rabbi, so Menashe would come to him in a dream. Who are you to make fun of me? You're a little nothing compared to me. You dare make fun of me? Yeah, how could you be Avodah Zarah? Didn't you know the truth? So he tells him, if you would be living in my generation, you would pick up your glima, your long coat, and run together with me and worship Avodah Zarah. In other words, if you would be living in my generation when there was a tremendous temptation, which was later bitluota, that Yetzer was taken away, right after the Jews came back and restored the second temple. During the first temple era, there was a tremendous Yetzer for Avodah Zarah, and we can't understand that today. What do they have? What kind of an interest? What kind of a relationship is this to worship idols? Then you should first of all know that particular Avodah, that particular service was attractive, not because it was a style a lot of people did it, because it does have a koach. Yeah, of course. There is a koach in the tum'ah. Yesh kochot tum'ah. There is witchcraft, and there's all these things that have a certain koach in this world. But back then, that koach also was coupled together with a yetzer hara. In the same way today we have a yetzer, for example, to want to eat, to want to sleep, or to do other things. It's a desire, and some people have this yetzer, and some people have more of this yetzer. But we understand what a yetzer is. It's a strong desire and a strong inclination to do something. Back then they had a yetzer for Avodah Zarah, and they loved it. It does not mean that they denied the existence of Borei Olam, right? It's like they say in English, they wanted to have the cake and eat it too. They wanted everything. They were nimshechu. They were attracted to this koach, and as a result of that blinded them from seeing the reality. Not that they were blind, not that they were fools, they were smart, great people perhaps too, but they were blinded by the Avodah Zarah. So when Avraham Avinu goes out, or anybody goes out to investigate a question like this, what's the purpose of the creation of the world? Either the people that you will ask will not have the answer because they're ignorant, right? Or they don't want to tell you, they don't want to share whatever they know, because first of all, they'll feel guilty, right? A lot of people do not want to come to a class, do not want to hear Torah, because it will remind them of their obligation, right? Or what it means to be a Jew. So they'd rather not hear about it. They'd rather not be needed. The Torah reminds us constantly. Nevertheless, we explained last week that if one is open-minded and he goes out and investigates and analyzes it on his own, he will be able to see from the Bria alone Many things you will be able to learn. There's a few examples that I gave. This question, however, what did Hashem have in mind? What He wants us from the Bria is a little bit more difficult, right? Unless you ask Him, it's difficult to figure out why He created this world. So, we have to rely on what the rabbis tell us. Even though, perhaps by looking a little bit at creation, we may get a hint, a glimpse of why God created the world. The Pasuk says, Olam Chesed Yibaneh. The world is built on Chesed. Not only does the world survive because of acts of kindness, which is what this means, Olam Chesed Yibaneh is the whole world was built with that foundation of kindness. In other words, Hashem wanted to be kind and do good unto the world. Why? So the Kabbalah, or Chokhmat HaLakud, explained that the essence of God, the essence of Borei Olam, is Tov. Remember last week we said it's not possible for us to know what good is because good is relative. What is good to you, it may not necessarily be good for us. Hashem is the ultimate good because good, real good, represents perfection, shlemut. And the only one that has perfect shlemut without any gir'anot, without any lacking, is Hashem. That is one statement we made. Another statement, which I will elaborate a little bit more now, the only way we can determine if something is good or bad on our own today, these days, even if we have no Torah, or if we have what we call in English a gray area, it's not written clearly, how do we know if something is good or bad? By asking ourselves, Ayin ze mevi otanu latachlit or lo? Does this bring us any closer to the ultimate destination or not? Remember I gave the example with the freeway. If I get off this, will this help me? If I get on this freeway, will this get me where I want to? If it does, take it. If it does not get me to that goal, don't take it. On the contrary, it will set you back. So when we examine something, is something good or bad, we need to ask ourselves, is this taking us to the ultimate destination? HaKadosh Baruch Hu being the only one that is Shalem, He is called good. This essence that we call good, the nature of it is to want to do good to others. Something that is very good wants to share that goodness with others. That's the essence of goodness. The nature of goodness is to want to impart, to want to give what it has. And the rabbis tell us in very few words, if you want to know in very few words what the purpose of the creation is, God wanted to impart His goodness onto others. And He created the world with human beings and animals that will benefit from that goodness that He has to offer. That's the purpose of the creation of the world. Now that's, a big statement. We still haven't explained everything. Okay, then what's Olam Haba? What's the mitzvot? And what's the Torah? What does that have to do with it? Why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu just give everything for free? Obviously, in the end, He is demanding of us something in return for that goodness. That's in the following chapters. That's to come. In the meantime, what we need to know is that not only is there a purpose to this world, there is a lot of goodness here. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, God created this to impart good to those that He created. And that is the meaning of another pasuk, a very important pasuk, extremely important in Hashkafa, correct Jewish outlook. Mipi elyon lo tetzeh hara that we read in Necha. From above, nothing bad comes down. Nothing bad comes down from above. From above, nothing bad comes down. So why do we witness bad? Well, first of all, our perception is not correct, not accurate. What we perceive as bad in reality is good. Right? That's number one. And number two, as the commentaries explain, man is the one shemekalkel. In other words, when you see something bad happening, it is... So, mipi elyon lo tetzeh hara, what we were saying, for two reasons, nothing comes down that is bad from upstairs. Either our perception is wrong, or even if it does appear bad, it's because ha'adam kilkel. He brought it upon himself. Man has free will, and he's capable of causing harm to people. So any bad that does happen in this world, it originates from man himself. So even what we see as a punishment, and Hashem does punish, does do things like that, that's not called ra, that's called removing beracha, removing his hashgacha, but not bad. And in the end, that which He did is for that person's benefit. Somehow it will benefit that person that he should not continue to receive that tovah, either as a kapara or some other. So even sickness is a kapara. Sickness from above, not a cold or a flu. So something that even is painful is still because it's a kapara, because it's a lesson. It's not something that's called a ra. From Hashem, from Pi Elyon, from above, lo tetzeh haraot, nothing bad comes out. except for that area, those areas that human beings have free will. Human beings have free will to do certain things, to do mitzvot or averot, to harm people, to insult, to hit, to kill halila. They have the ability to harm people. So a certain degree of harm is man-made. Right? It does not come.
The wrong person and doesn't work at all.
What?
That's the mazal. That's what.
If your mazal is not to get hurt, then he will not be able to harm you. If you're not on the level of a big tzaddik,
Meet somebody, the wrong people.
that's all part of the mazal package. Who you will meet, who you will do business with, who will pay you, who will not pay you. It's all part of the mazal because it's written how much you're going to make. Right? So somehow either the IRS will take it, or a holdup will take it, or somebody will not pay you and claim bankruptcy. It's all part of the mazal.
But the mazal is from Shammai.
Of course. Yeah. And then there's gezerot, decrees that are decreed on Rosh Hashanah that have nothing to do with the mazal. Let's say his mazal was beautiful, good, supposed to be nice until 120. But the Kadosh Baruch Hu said on Rosh Hashanah, this coming year, going to make you lose a lot of money. For whatever reason. So that has nothing to do with the mazal. It could be a decree. Something that he did wrong, this year, you have to pay for it. And that would be a kapara, of course. It's better to get the kapara here than to get it upstairs. So all that is not called bad. It's still called good because in the end it's for the good of the person. That is why the rabbis tell us that we must get used to the saying, Kol man David Rahmana, letam avid. Everything that Kadosh Baruch Hu does, the Rahmana, everything that Kadosh Baruch Hu does, is for the good. That is why we also say, Gamzu letovah. We make a bracha when a person passes away, Dayan Haemet. Dayan Haemet, you make a blessing on something which appears to be very, very bad. Like a person that's dying, leaving this world, we still say Dayan Haemet. The judge is correctly, and only he knows. But it's not bad. Never should one say bad. Those who complain, where was God in the Holocaust, it shows a complete ignorance of the facts. Because first of all, it's written in several parshiot in the Torah why these things happen. And it has nothing to do with Hashem, God forbid, being bad or going after us. Even though we see language in the Torah that is upset and angry and he will punish and go out against us, all of that is letovah because he wants us to come back to him. So that is good. There's various midot in Kabbalah. The Kabbalah explains that there's various midot or sefirot of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Some are chesed and some are closer to din. And sometimes you have a combination of din and rachamim together when something appears bad on the outside, but inside, deep inside, it's really good. It's intended to be good. It's like a combination of the two. All right. Before we begin this, it's a very short chapter. Before I begin to go over the main points of the chapter, another quick point to remember is that if you read Parashat Bereshit, you would have noticed that of all the creations, who was created last? Adam. Why? The Rambam explained to us that who Nezer Habriya, he's the crown of creation. The world was created for him. So everything is ready made. So everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu created was ready. So by the time he arrived on Friday, everything was perfect. Now he's ready to go into Shabbat. Right? So that in itself, the creation of man at the very end, is also to remind him, just like I said last week, the Brit Milah is to remind him that he's not Mushlam, he's not complete. His job in this world is letaken, to fix. Right? The same way a man being born in the end is to remind him, this world is for you. Not only is this world for you, you're the crown of creation, you're the most important part of creation. You will also be a partner in creation. How is man a partner in creation? Because he continues to create. Man and a woman together continue to procreate. And that is their partnership in this world. And that is the mitzvah of L'Shevet Yetzirah. That Kadosh Baruch Hu wants this world to be populated and to be inhabited and not destroyed. And that is when man was given a very important job. He did not always do his job right, but nevertheless he has that power. And if you use that power wisely, you will be able to accomplish a great deal. I always like pointing out the fact, it's very sad, how many billions and trillions of dollars are spent on weapons today by all the countries in the world? Forget about the United States, everybody. Tremendous amount. Tremendous amount. Do you know that with all this money, you'll be able to feed all the poor in Bangladesh, and in Congo, and in Zambia, and even in Nigeria. Right? Everywhere. Right? There would be no hunger, no famine, no problems. Right? What's going on over here? What?
They have to suit them to be like this.
What? So man is created at the very end to remind him that the world is for him. It was created for him. This is a good world, and he needs to maintain it. Another point, maybe I should mention it now too, is that we see that in the creation, everybody contributes. Everybody is here for a purpose. Spiders, birds, plants, right? There's the oxygen that they provide. Everything contributes. The nectar, the certain plants like trees. Everything in this world contributes and gives. This is another important concept. I don't want to mix you up, but it will help us understand the following chapters a little bit better. Even though everything in the world contributes, that's called koach hanetina, koach of giving. There's also a koach that man has more than anybody else called koach hamekabel, to receive. I say man has more than because animals have that a little bit too, because they eat. They need to eat to survive, so they need to, some animals need to catch their prey or to eat the grass. They need to receive too. But for the most part, this world was intended to be olam hanoten, just like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. In the end, what we see in the mitzvot is that Kadosh Baruch Hu demands of the Jew to be like him, to emulate him. Ma'u hanun afatat hanun. Ma'u rahum afatat rahum. Emulate his ways and be like him. Right. His most important attribute, to say so, is that he is Ainoten. Kadosh Baruch Hu lo mekabel klum. He doesn't receive anything from anybody. He doesn't need anything. That koach hanetina is seen in the creation as well. The problem is that it becomes, what's the word for it? That concept becomes hazy because of the koach hamekabel that people have. People want things for themselves too. So they sometimes forget that there is a need to be noten to. I just read an incredible story of an individual who had a very disturbing childhood. Obviously didn't get too much emotional support and perhaps grew up a little bit confused. But in the end he got married at the age of 24, but his marriage only lasted for 5 years. And he writes that only at the end of his marriage did he realize why his marriage did not. He had a wonderful wife, an Eshet Hayel, who was extremely devoted to him. He was blessed. The problem is that he thought, I couldn't believe it, people really think that way. He thought that marriage, it's okay for him to be only receiving enough. It's that his wife will love him even though he did not reciprocate. One would see. He thought so, that would be, it would work out because she's a nice woman, she was giving, and she did, and she gave, and she gave, and she gave. And he was not used to giving. It wasn't his fault. I mean, not only did he not understand that that's what he was also not used to. He never had good friends, close relationships, and his family, who knows how it looked. It definitely was not a healthy environment. So he got married. He thought, finally somebody will love me, care for me, take care of me. But it's a two-way street. You got to reciprocate in order for that loving relationship to continue and to evolve. And by the time he realized this, it was already too late. The marriage counselors could not help them anymore, fix their problem. You want to tackle these problems early on. Love is a situation where both of them contribute, both of them invested, not only one. It's impossible. Now, of course, there are some people who are angels and realize that this man or this woman, they're not wicked, they're not bad, but they have a lot of deficiencies. I'll put up with that. That's something else. That is because you've come to terms and you've made a decision and that you accept, as long as that person is not wicked or bad and abusive, but not everybody can handle that. A lot of people want the reciprocation. That's normal human nature. So without making a decision that I'm willing to accept, people are going to suffer if they only give and they don't get something back. Who suffers? The one who gives. The one who gives. And this happens also amongst children and teenagers. Some of them have such a very good nature, a golden heart, and they get extremely disappointed and hurt. It's not reciprocated, or if it's not acknowledged. That's the worst. Or if somebody does something bad to you, he's like fui tova, or meshalem ra'at tova, he pays you bad for good. So you can imagine Borei Olam, who has given so much to the Jewish nation, how he must feel when not only don't we reciprocate, we don't even acknowledge, or we step halila on the mitzvot. That's just an idea for us to understand what's going on over here. Borei Olam has the koach hanetina. He only gives, but he expects reciprocation, of course. And the essence of Borei Olam being good, endowed or imparted onto this world a tremendous amount of goodness. And that goodness is seen everywhere. In the creation itself, in the human being, in the life that he has given him. A normal human being wants to live. Have you ever seen an animal a deer, it sees a tiger coming to him, go ahead and eat the apple. Every creature runs for his life. What? Right? Every creature runs for its life because they appreciate life. Life is precious, it's beautiful. The only time a person starts thinking about it is if he's in extreme pain. He says, you know what, this connected tubes, I don't want this. Right? You know, people in the hospital who are going through Chaz v'Shalom, tremendous amount of pain. We should never know from that. Then they become desperate and they think all sorts of crazy ideas. And one who does not have a solid foundation of emunah and bitachon in Hashem does not realize that all this is kapara, and that every breath in his mouth and every moment of life is important. Chaz v'Shalom. You know, he would never leave this world, not even 1 second early. He would want every single bit of kapara. So life is precious. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this life, this goodness, including the goodness that is yet to come in Olam Haba, because that is his essence. His essence is to impart good unto us. That is the purpose. That is why he created this world. That is the basic explanation of why he created the world. Okay, now that we have an idea of what the purpose of this world is, let's go quickly through this chapter. And it says as follows. This is a little bit similar to what we said last week, that Borei Olam is the only one that is a complete entity that has no... And there's nothing else in this world that is as complete as he is. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is complete. And he goes on to explain as follows. Since Borei Olam wanted to impart his goodness unto others, HaKadosh Baruch Hu being good and being complete, it was not enough that he impart unto others just a little bit of tov. He wanted to give tachlit hatov, the utmost, as much as possible that he can give to the Bruim. Now he goes on and says as follows. On the other hand, hatov hazeh I efshar sheyimatzeh labo. This good can only be found in him. Al ken gazra chokhmato shemitziut ha'atava ha'amitit hazot yeh b'ma she'yiten makom labruim v'shiyitdavku bo yitbarach shemo boto ha'shi'ur she'efshar lahem shiyitdavku. How do these individuals that he's about to create receive this goodness? In one way, by being able to attach themselves to him. In other words, the goodness that we see in this world, whether it's ice cream or whether it's all these pleasures, that's not necessarily something which is intended here. Of course, the body benefits and enjoys it. The ultimate goodness is when a human being with a neshama, which is a chelek eloka mimal, which is a part of Borei Olam, is able to be nehene min ha-Shekhinah itself. The only way that a neshama can be nehene, can enjoy the Shekhinah, he says, is by being attached to it, by becoming close to it. The tzaddikim, who work on themselves, who work on their midot, who perfect themselves, they get close to him. And according to their level of closeness that they have come to him, they are able to benefit or enjoy the goodness of him. The ultimate hana'ah, the ultimate benefit, is in Olam Haba, not in this world. And what is the hana'ah in the world to come? It will not be smoking, even though some people enjoy it in this world. It will not be drinking. The ultimate hana'ah in the world to come will be enjoying the presence or the proximity of the Shekhinah. One will want more. I want to get closer and closer. That's how the neshama feels drawn to this koach elyon. That same feelings is supposed to be here in this world too. If a person would be able to learn Torah several hours a day, he would be able to draw this, whatever you want to call it, this pleasure, this shefa, whatever you want to call it, and he would enjoy it. He would not want to let go of it. The problem is that people are distorted or distracted by all these other temptations, and that is why they say, well, I want to have a little bit of this, I want to have a 3,000 square foot home, I want to have a Lexus too, and I want to have this. These are all goodies too. But this is not the intended good. The ultimate tov, what did we say before, is a tov that shemekarev tadam latachlit, to the ultimate destination. And that, in this case, in this world that we are living in, is in getting close to Borei Olam. So Hashem made it possible, as He will explain in later chapters, for an individual to get close to Him in this world. After all, since the man is a part of Hashem, the neshama that in him is a part of Him, it is like a tree that has branches and roots. In other words, they extend out, but in the end, they nourish from the tree. They get all their nourishment from the tree, and they want to be a part of the tree. Anyway, and he goes on to explain that everybody is able to obtain as much goodness as he wants. In other words, goodness is not handed out evenly to everybody. Everybody is able to grab as much as he is able to. In other words, that is the gzerah of the Boreh. Even though Hashem decided, I'm going to give good, He did not give it out evenly. He made it so that everybody should grab an amount according to whatever he is able to attain.
You have to work for it.
You would have to work for it, as he will explain. We'll get to that. But He made it so that you are able to grab as much as you can. Right. As much as is feasible. But everybody on his level. Alright, let's go on. Another gzerah, another rule that Borei Olam made in creating this world, that the person acquiring this good, he himself should be good. How do you acquire the good? If you yourself are good. In other words, the two should go together. In other words, good should not come unto a person, he says, b'mikre. This is an important point, because when we get to the question of Lama Tzadik Verano Rasha V'Tovlo, why do we see wicked people successful and prospering, and the righteous not so? We might think, what's going on over here? Don't think it's a mikre. The tov lo mitlaver. The tov does not accompany one, does not come unto one, but derech mikre. It's only if you are good yourself, or you did something good, right? You see how it happens? He must have done something good to receive beracha. Now don't get confused by wealth. Wealth is not necessarily something good. Wealth can destroy a person, right? When we're talking about something good, as I explained in the past, how do we know wealth is a blessing? First of all, if it stays for several generations. And number two, if the individual who has it is not hurt by it. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. The commentaries say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless you with money and should protect you that money. What good is it if He gives it to you, people come and take it away from you? What good is it if you have it and you can't sleep, and you have to put bars and alarm and policemen to watch over you? You know what's going on in Mexico City these days? All these rich people, they have to hire police and special guards so the kids should not be kidnapped and then have to pay ransom. And eventually, the same police are corrupt. They are the ones who do all the kidnapping. Yivarech Hashem v'yishmerecha. True blessing is that you shouldn't get hurt because of your money. People shouldn't be envious of you. There shouldn't be no ain hara on you, evil eye on you. People have that fun. People, of course, have money, and they suffer as a result of that. That's not beracha. That's not tov. So the tov cannot come b'mikre. Okay, next point. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to impart all this goodness, and He wanted people to acquire this through goodness, He had to make a world where there is possibilities for both. To receive it, and not to receive it. In other words, He had to give a choice. Eventually, when we talk about this mechanism called free will, I'll explain a little bit more how that works. That had to happen, because it's not being given for free. And by the way, why isn't it given for free? He doesn't say it here, maybe he says it later. There's a concept called, in the Kabbalah, Nahama de Kisufa, bread of shame. Bread of shame means that the Neshama, Dosha, the whole Neshama does not want to receive something that it did not work for. Charity, handouts. It's embarrassed. You want to work for it. And in the human being, in human nature, there is a little bit of that because of his neshama, not to just receive. An animal doesn't care, just give me. Give me the food, I'll take it, I'll eat it. The neshama, which is a chelek elokama, a part of God, does not want to, in its nature, to receive something that it did not work for. It would rather have worked for it. So in the end, that will explain later on, we will see it, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us work for it by performing mitzvot. But at this time, all He's telling us is that in order for one to receive the good, he has to have goodness in him as well. And then the goodness can be midabek bo. It can attach itself into it. It can attach itself to him. Alright, next point. Since HaKadosh Baruch Hu represents the ultimate completeness, as we said before, anything that resembles Him can never be the same as Him, but will have a relationship to Him like an anaf el hashoresh, as I just said before, like a branch to a root. Even though it can never be the same like the root itself, all it is a branch, nevertheless, it's a continuation of it, and it nourishes from it. He goes on to explain that therefore, kol chisaron ena ela elem tuvo yitbarach shemo b'ester panav. Even though we just finished saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu represents completeness, and all the beruim are attachments, especially the human being who has a neshama, that attachment is never going to be the same like the original root, right? But don't think that if you see something lacking in the attachment, in the roots, it's because the shoresh is lacking. Chaz v'shalom. Kol chisaron, anytime you see somebody lacking, what does lacking mean? Poor, sick, something is lacking. Okay? What does this stem from? It's supposed to be shalem, or let's say a mum, a physical defect. In a human being, there are physical defects. Babies born with physical defects. That's all called chisaron. Anytime you see that, all it is, briefly, if you want to explain it, it's not a chosen in the shlemut of Hashem. One may claim, Hashem created him. Why didn't he create him perfect? What is this? Something went wrong in the lab? Chas v'shalom, that this baby didn't come out right? No, he says no. Shekol chisaron is elem tuvo itbarach shemo v'ester panav. It is the lack of the tuvo coming down and hiding his face, what we call hastarat panim. In other words, the Kadosh Baruch Hu can close the door. He can remove some of that shefa, some of that tov, from coming down the pipeline. It doesn't mean halila that there's something lacking in him. It's just that he is holding it back. That's the exact same way an ayin hara comes. What is an ayin hara? How come ayin hara hurts people? I'm not going to get into the whole subject now, but just briefly, if you want to have an idea how it works, is that there is a shefa, there's this tov coming down through a pipeline, that we receive nourishment from it, we receive beracha, we receive guidance, it takes us where we need to go, we don't stumble, right? Baruch Hashem, this doesn't happen b'mikveh, right? It's like we have an umbilical cord connected to Shamayim. All of a sudden, there's an ayin hara, a wicked eye, an evil eye, that interferes with that pipeline, right? It interferes with that, it doesn't break it, doesn't sever it completely, but it interferes with the shefa, and all of a sudden a person gets sick. All of a sudden he suffers monetarily, perhaps. Something goes wrong that can be attributed to an ayin hara. And you have to, of course, eliminate that ayin hara. If it's a gzerah from Hashem, there's nothing you can do until you ask for teshuvah and you ask for His forgiveness. But if it's an ayin hara, we have a way of removing that ayin hara that is interfering with the shefa. Another way of looking at it is the immune system. If your immune system is strong, then it will fight. The body itself has the ability to fight off certain diseases by itself. If the immune system is no good, the body gets sick very quickly from even a small cold. Right? So if something happens to that pipeline, it could interfere, halila, and cause all sorts of problems. So that is what he explains over here. Don't think it's a lack of shlemut in Hashem. It's that something is interfering with it and causing a Kadosh Baruch Hu to hold back, or to not let this shefa, this beracha, this tov to come down. First of all, if you suspect somebody has it, is stay away from him. That's number one. Number two is not to stand out. If you have a lot of money, not to show it off, not to be ostentatious. And number three, to say some prayers that Kadosh Baruch Hu should protect you. Yeah. So there's several things you can do.
When you read El Ayin Nishma in the morning, it comes as ayin hara. You have concentration.
Yeah, well, there's other. All right, let's go on. Ramazan over here. Therefore, this nivra, this man who was created, is always, throughout his lifetime, standing b'shikul, on a balance between shlemut and chesronot, between completing himself, or being complete, and being lacking. In other words, he has this continuous challenge throughout his lifetime, and when one strengthens himself, he says, and acquires the shlemut to himself, to perfect himself, he is attaching himself to the shoresh, to Borei Olam, and the more completeness he acquires, the greater his attachment to Borei Olam is. Tzaddikim are very attached, so much so that the rabbis tell us, Tzaddik gozer v'kadosh baruch hu mekayem. The tzaddik has the ability to decree, and his blessing comes true. Why should his blessing come true? Hashem listens to you. What does he have? Protectia? No. How do you say it in English? Does he have pull? In Spanish we say palancas.
Connection.
Right? What does he have? Connections?
Connection.
Yes, he does in a sense.
Connected.
He's more connected, exactly. He's more connected. And the further a person is, of course, from acquiring this shlemut, not only is he further away from the tachlit, from arriving at his destination, but he's also his attachment is weaker from Borei Olam. Okay, the very last point is as follows. Okay, I'm just going to say briefly, there is a lot of things he explains in this world that people attempt to acquire, but ultimately the greatest and the most important item that one should make an effort to acquire is this Dvekut in Borei Olam. This is a big subject in itself, Even though people know that there's a tachlit to the world, there's a purpose, they know that there's olam haba, they observe the mitzvot, they try to lead a Jewish life. Nevertheless, they don't put the emphasis. The correct word over here for this last point is emphasis, or priorities. They don't put all their efforts, and they don't emphasize or prioritize this particular area called Nekut Hashem. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Sometimes this is a little difficult to explain, but with examples you'll understand. Go over to a 15-year-old child and ask him, so, let's call him Moshe. Moshe, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so he'll tell you, doctor, a fireman, businessman, politician, whatever. And you go over to him and says, I didn't ask you what you want to make a living from. I asked you, what do you want to be? The answer should be a God-fearing Jew. There was once somebody who asked me, who met me, an older rabbi. So what do you do? And that was his question. Those were his words. I said, I try to serve Borei Olam. He had a smile on his face. No, I meant, what do you do for a living? I told him, you should have said so. He says, what do I do? My main job in this world is to attempt my best to serve Borei Olam. If you want to know what I do for a living, how I put food on my table, that's a whole different question. It has nothing to do with it. I got to ask the question properly.
Yeah.
And that's really his last point in this chapter, is emphasis and priority. Because we may know all these things, but we don't put the necessary effort. We don't emphasize it, we don't focus, we don't prioritize. And this, he says, should be the priority number one. The Nekut in Borei Olam. And he says, and what do we look, and we see all sorts of things in the world, and we are distracted, and we think that they are important, and it's something that we need to acquire. But in reality, they're tafel, he says. They're subordinate, they're secondary. They're not as important. And finally, he says that in order to achieve this goodness, in order to become good, in order to acquire the goodness of Borei Olam and the attachment, we have been endowed with haskala and midot. We have been endowed with intelligence and with certain characteristics. The midot tovot, as opposed to the midot ra'ot, are the ones that lead a person to the ultimate shlemut. Whereas the midot hara'ot are the ones that cause him to lose this shlemut. And that leads us to the big philosophical question of who's better off. Listen to this question. With this we'll finish. Is it better for a child to be born with midot ra'ot, with bad character, or with midot tovot? What kind of a question is that, right? I asked you a very difficult question, because the rabbis tell us, lefum sa'ara agra, the more difficult challenge a Jew has, and he works on it, and he acquires what he needs to acquire despite everything, lefum sa'ara agra, the more reward he will have. If one is spoon-fed the religion, and he does not have the yetzer hara, and he does not have the challenges and the temptations, and he goes through life very easily, his friends are not into drugs, his friends don't go to bad movies, he doesn't have a TV at home, what are the chances of him coming out good? Better. No guarantee, because he has free will. Right? But no guarantee, but it's better. What if a child grows up on Sunset Boulevard, right across the street, from what, right? And he has money,
and
right?
he's good looking.
And he's good looking. That's right. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, because that's Yosef.
And he doesn't do anything, Halila bad. Tzaddik Gadol. The Gemara says that Kadosh Baruch Hu is proud of him.
Yosef.
Right? Kadosh Baruch Hu is very proud of him. Now let me ask you, which one is better? To have the bad and to work on it, because they said Lefum Sa'ara Agra, or to be born with good midot and not to have a difficult time? What do you say? Even though the Chachamim say, there's no doubt, Shelefum Sa'ara Agra, and it's better, the person who is born with certain midot ra'ot is going to be on a higher level, madriga, than the other tzaddik. Two individuals, one who worked hard to pray and to do good things, and mitzvot, and one who didn't have to work so hard. There's no doubt that the one who worked hard is better off, because he's going to get more reward. But let's forget about reward for a moment. If we had a choice, what would we want to have? We would want to have the good midot. Why? Because the good midot person has simply a better chance to survive. Rabbis tell us, remember, he will be better off not being born than being born. Because life is full of challenges and it's very difficult to conquer the yetzer hara. So if you at least have midot tovot, you have an easier start. When a parent is blessed with a good child that has good midot, who on his own wants to help people, Bikur Holim, Machnasat Holim. You know, some kids have that in their nature. Some people have that in their nature. Other people, they can't stand it. They have to work on Machnasat Holim. They have to really work on their Yetzirah. Some people give every penny in their pocket. They don't mind. They have a golden heart. Others, you know, everybody has a different ma'ala and different chesaron. So there's no doubt that we would be better off. It would be an easier start to have these midot, this shlemut. On the other hand, one who does not have it, the tzara agra, right? He finishes off this chapter by reminding us that not only Dvekut b'Hashem is a priority. In order to acquire this Dvekut b'Hashem, one has to have midot tovot. He has to have good character. A person who does not have good character and intelligence, haskalah, is going to have a very difficult time. So haskalah we're able to get through learning Torah. Midot tovot we can also get through learning Torah, but that is the greatest job of all, much more than learning. See, when you learn, you get knowledge, but midot tovot is work. If one does not work on himself, if one does not work on his midot, it is very difficult for him to acquire the Dvekut b'Hashem. Perhaps we only have time for one additional point. The worst midah, there's a lot of bad midot. There's kas, there's anger, there's laziness, there is all sorts of tavot and desires. One of the worst midot, perhaps, that will disturb or interfere in a Jew's attempt to acquire Dvekut b'Hashem is ta'avot. Desires, especially for food and for the luxuries and all the vanities in the world. Ta'avot for these things. Why? Because what is a tava? A tava is a constant desire to acquire. If you have a constant desire to acquire this, it will take away from your desire to acquire something else because you're focused on this. You want this. I have to have that car, right? And now they're offering 0% interest, right? So I'm going to have, he goes crazy. He's going to go after the car. Now, after he gets this car, right? Now he's going to worry about something else. He's got to get something else, right? So when a person's mind is always focused on acquiring these ta'avot, right? Which is the Yesh is, of course, telling you to pursue, that will distract him and take him away from the ultimate avodah of this world, and that is the avodah of Dvekut b'Hashem. This is the best way to concentrate and to focus and to prioritize Dvekut b'Hashem is to let go of everything else and just concentrate on this. And how do you do that? By working on the midot. When a person's midot become good midot, then the good wants to attach itself to the good, right? Like we explained last week, everybody who has a spark of divinity in him, at some point, at the spark, it awakens in him and he's drawn. People feel it at different times, right? And on Yom Kippurim and Rosh Hashanah, we feel it hopefully a little bit more than in other times, right? If a person would leave out all these vanities, he would be able to hear the Neshama speaking to him. The Neshama would tell him, "You fool! I don't need this. I don't care for this. You're not going to take it to the grave with you, right?" But a person does not listen to his Neshama. He's listening to his desires, to his Yetzer, and therefore he's forgetting about what the Neshama really wants. That's the continuous challenge. But in the end, the only way to acquire the Tov, the Dvekut b'Hashem, is to work on the Midot. Once a person becomes Tov, becomes a good person, becomes Hainoten velo mekabel, he becomes a giver instead of a taker, then life is a lot easier for him. All the mitzvot become easy, nothing becomes a burden. When does life become a burden? When does Judaism, the mitzvot, become a burden? When he's still stuck on the other end, on the other side, on the koach hamekabel. I want for myself, I need for myself. That leads to selfishness, that leads to broken marriages, that leads to problems with all sorts of problems with other human beings. I want for myself. I need this for myself. I don't want to give in. I don't want to give it up. We call it in Hebrew, koach avatranut, levater. Learn to give in. Learn to give. You don't need this. Be like Borei Olam. Give instead of take. When a child is born into this world, how does he arrive? With his hand, with his fist, clothed. He wants the whole world for himself. Koach hamekabel. When he leaves this world, the hands are outstretched. He needs everything. Unfortunately, people don't learn this, lesson. If we learn it a little bit earlier on, we will have a better chance of being Davei B'Hashem.